All right, well, I will be doing a review on these three knives. The Replicant, Benchmade 42 with Flytanium scales. I'm going to do it with the Flytanium scales because that's the only way you can put them in the same class as these other two. And the BRS Bare Bones. Now this one's modded, as is, of course, Replicant, both by CMF Metalworks, Ian. This one, rounded handles, different grind, and this one anodized with a different grind. I don't think it makes a huge difference, but just keep that in mind because it might have a big play in it. Both of these are first-hand owned for me. Like, I bought them from BRS and Benchmade. This one was secondhand, so it's beat up, and I can't give the straight review on how perfect it would be with, I don't know, all the good stuff, being perfect and all. These aren't perfect by any means. I flipped them, but I digress. So first, I think I'll start with the Benchmade because that's where I started. So, Benchmade, nice knife. Of course, it was my first. Now I am going to be comparing to this crappy thing. This is a Baron Sons something. I think it's got aluminum handle or yeah, whatever. I'll be comparing to this thing just so you can tell the difference between quality and cheaply made. So this one was actually my first one, and I say that because after I got this, it was a world of difference. Just look at the play. Here, this other hand in here. Oh yeah, it only goes one direction. The lash beat to crap. It's been bent. Man, I've used the heck out of this thing, and it's a good starter for 30 bucks, I guess. The tang cups have been worn in like nobody's business so that the handles clip together. What else? And it's loose. It's not very sharp anymore. It was sharp when I got it, I think. The back of it kind of hurts. It's a little rounded, but it still hurts. And this one was a dream when I got it. Now, I have the actual blade here. Let's see where I put it. There it is. So, I had the actual blade. I flipped it for a while. Since I wasn't used to this one, I was used to this one not being sharp. I cut myself a bunch with this knife. Now, I'm going to go over this with each, well, I'll go over with this one because this is the only factory edge. It was stupid sharp. It didn't feel sharp because I think the grind, don't quote me on this at all, but I think it was ground a little wide. So I was used to having really, really small angled, but I dropped it third or fourth day on a beanbag and it sliced the thing open just by sliding across it. So it was really sharp. So that's when I got Flytanium Zenith blade. Highly recommended, especially because of the bearings, not the bearings, the bushings, because they are very handy. Little to no play here with the bearings, still free swinging both sides. I like this knife, but I've learned to like it a lot less after getting these other two because these are impeccable, and it kind of puts Benchmade down a little on my list. I still respect them, but I know this isn't a flipper's knife, whereas BRS makes a flipper's knife. A knife for flippers is definitely the way you want to go if you're going to be flipping for a while. This is great EDC, especially with the regular scales on it. Very light, very sharp, D2 blade, can't go wrong. This knife is nice. The way everything fits in, it fits in well, all the pivots and everything. They're press fit, so you don't have to fiddle with that. I don't know what else to say about this. It doesn't carry too well, I don't think. I haven't had enough experience. I've only had the Replicant for like a week, but I don't think it carries too well. It's an okay weight. It bugs me that on this blade the handles are so far apart. They close more with this blade. But I like that. I don't know if you can hear it. It clangs. Not like that clang, but got a nice ring to it with this blade on it, and it's really nice. I don't know, I like it a lot. Started on this one, learned a heck of a lot on this one. I don't know, it's a good knife, but for the price range, especially getting the Flytanium, it's not worth it. You can get a replicant for less money, and it's a far better knife even with the Flytanium on it. So next, I'll do the bare bones next. I still have more to say about each one as a whole. This one I just tuned, and so it's not tuned super well. This latch kind of sticks. I mean, this handle sticks a little. You can't really tell. This knife I know doesn't come with a rounded back. I've heard it can be easily rounded. That's one bad thing about this knife. I flipped it at Blade HQ, and it kind of hurt compared to the Benchmade, especially. The play on this one, it's all right. When I got it, it was much better than the Benchmade, which had the regular blade on it, which the play is much higher with the regular blade without bushings. This knife does not have bushings, if you're not aware. Bushings make a huge difference. I would almost say they're almost necessary because they make such a big difference. Now this one has a good bit of play, but I did just tune it back. Took it apart, cleaned it, and so it was kind of bad. It was worse. I always base mine off. If you can, oh, look at that already. If you can hear the blade click on the sides, this one you can hear it only because the whole blade is thick. I mean, you saw the play on this. There's nothing, but it still clicks because of the, oh my goodness, the trainer is full. You know, there's no grind to it to make it thinner. So this knife is good. It's heavy. It's very heavy. I don't know about the weight between these two because this knife is very heavy too. This one's heavier. This one's really heavy. I remember getting the Benchmade with just the regular scales and blew me out of the water how light it was. But this one is heavy. It's heavier than both of these. Maybe combined. I doubt it. No way. It'll carry well. It'll keep its momentum very well because of how heavy it is. Because it's stainless steel, it doesn't have spacers. Let's see if you can see that. I mean, there's spacers, but there's no large back spacer like there is on the Benchmade or the Replicant because stainless steel holds its weight. I've seen pictures of these bending. I don't like that. It kind of scared me when I bought this knife. Just be careful. They don't sit on it, I guess. The nipple on this one was absolutely terrible. I mean, it would pinch to the point of cutting, so you'd bleed. You just got around it. You got to use some sandpaper around it a lot. It took me a while actually to do it. I mean, I was using 1 grit sandpaper because that's all I had, but same thing. Anyway, this knife is not too hard to take apart, especially if you tightened everything first, like before. Because I always start from this side and tighten these as tight as I can get them because it's stainless steel. It'll be fine. And that way the barrel spacers don't move and the stop pins or Zen pins don't move. And then you can tighten these down as much as you need. And then you can always use pliers. I use pliers when taking pretty much any knife apart. You can just get in here if they're spinning and grab. And that way it won't spin. That's one thing I don't like about BRS so far. I only have 2 of their knives. I haven't flipped them much. They don't have set pins like this, which really helps. Yeah. So good knife. I don't know how it is stock. I know it's flat. It's very flat. This one's a little tough to flip for me, even. It's tough to flip for stuff like 0G chaplains or 0G ladders, just because it's so round. I don't know. I end up getting it sideways like that instead of being able to keep it straight when I flip it. What else? I think that's all to say about this one. It's nice. I like how the horns aren't out as much. That's one thing I don't like about the look of this, is those weird horns. These are really stylish, more stylish, I guess. You don't really see them as much. I don't know, they stick out a lot on this one. I don't really like it. I'd take them off if I could, if I was willing to. I don't know. I don't think I can get the same finish. I leave them on. I don't really know the purpose of them either. It's supposed to keep your fingers out of the way. It doesn't help. I think that's what it's for, and it doesn't do its job. Anyway, this knife will bite very, very hard. I cut myself right here. Let's see if you can see it. Well, I cut it right here. There's still a bump. It cut really deep. I was contemplating stitches, didn't get them. It still hurts. It's sore, and I think I cut it 2 or 3 weeks ago. But yeah, with the weight of this thing, it will bite. It will really, really bite. Don't know about Factory Edge because, you know, Ian from CMF. Sharpened this one, and this one's really sharp. I didn't test the one that I saw at Blade HQ. I didn't really look at the edge. I was looking at everything else. The latch, I don't like the latch on this one at all. I took all the latches off of these. I had the latch on this one for a while. I just didn't want to break it off, so I took it off. But I like this latch. I really like this latch. It's giving me some pain, but it's, in the long run, it's much nicer than these latches. These will start to wiggle. They do. Let's see if I have one close by. I'll grab it. So here's a latch. It's designed pretty well in terms of functionality because of the way it's shaped. It won't close on you like this one will. This one, if it gets in the way, you know, it's going to hit the blade first. But even if it doesn't hit the blade, it's going to stop right there, and it's not going to go anywhere. And it's going to ruin the combo if you're trying to close or even open. It can do it. Let's see. Oh my gosh. This knife sucks, guys. Alright, so yeah, close won't work. Now, with this latch, there's the possibility. You're not going to close on this one, or so I've heard. I haven't used it much. Get that pin back in there. But it's shaped like Calvin Nation puts it very well. But I'm not going to go into that. Look into it. It's funny. Anyway, so if it's here and it hits, let's see if I can do this with one hand, 2 hands, whatever. Anyway, and it hits, it bounces right off. Open. Either way. You can't see that at all. Oh my gosh. Anyway, it bounces like that. So when it contacts, it slips right off. And so you're not going to be stuck like that. Now it will make some marks. It's kind of rough pulling it in, and it sticks out a little, but it rattles a lot. It's not the pin that goes in it, this little guy. It doesn't fit super snug in there, and this doesn't fit snug on the pin, so it rattles a lot, and it just makes the flipping sound bad. And I'm one of the weirdos that cares about how it sounds. So latches, Benchmade takes the latch for sure. Don't like these latches at all. Took it off as soon as I got it. Well, CMF took it off for me. Anyway, now onto the rep. Now this is by far my favorite knife so far. I haven't flipped any other knives than the one I've showed you. I don't have any friends that have into butterfly knives. I don't have any way to get to any knife shows to flip them. So this is the best one I've flipped so far. It's been the most expensive for me just because I got it modded. Worth it, by the way. Hook up with CMF. CMF. This guy. Now this is the box for the bare bones. Anyway, this knife is golden in terms of flipping for sure. It's got G10 and titanium, and it's still heavy enough. Now, you could probably see the blue on this. That's the let's get this flashlight in here. So the blue, that's the thickness. It's pretty thin, and that's the titanium on titanium liners. Now these are nice and beefy. They're thick, they're sturdy. They don't have the cool little designs, or I don't know what that is on here. You can kind of see it. Flashlight again. It's milled out. I mean, milled out. It's got a design to it. You can kind of see it shine, which I think is really cool, which makes this one look really plain because it doesn't have that. Now usually this comes in just plain titanium. It doesn't have color to it at all. But it's a heavy knife. It's got good grip on the G10. I love where the lines are, you know, the typical BRS grips right here. They're in good places. I don't see myself using these as much as I do within this for rollovers. But it's nice. The G10 isn't too grippy, and it's not slick. It's smooth, but it's not slick. That's all I can say. You can't... I don't know. Anyway. Now, the one thing that I absolutely 100% hate about this knife is putting it together and taking it apart. It was hell. It was no other way to put it. Everything spins. You have to get the liners and push them off to the side to make sure that these screws go in, and I still have one that's loose, this one, because it wouldn't screw in. I stripped a bunch of screws, he stripped a bunch of screws, and I'm using a Wiha set, so they're, you know, quality. They shouldn't strip things, but I broke heads off of screws, as you can see here. Way to go, BRS. They're sending me some more, so I put some 51 screws in there. They do work, they do fit. They're a little longer, I think, but they fit. Same, I mean, it's a different torque size, but they still go in the hole, and they're holding these pins in. So the pivots, I wanted to do what what's his name does. Anyway, the paracord Loctite rather than doing regular Loctite, because I find it kind of gunks up the works.